First, in the US, Republicans and Democrats have derided President Donald Trump's proposal for the US and Russia to join forces against cyber hacking. He raised the idea in his first meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who denied his government had interfered in the US election. But that coincides with new claims that President Trump's own son met a Russian lawyer a year ago who allegedly offered information that could damage Hillary Clinton's election campaign. Anne Barker reports.
Revelations about Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with a Russian lawyer last year couldn't have come at a more awkward time. Only the day before, President Trump had met Russia's President Vladimir Putin for the first time at the G20 summit and boasted on Twitter about the ground they'd covered.
I strongly pressed President Putin twice about Russian meddling in our election. He vehemently denied it. I've already given my opinion.
The president also made much of his proposal to Vladimir Putin for a joint US-Russian cyber intelligence unit to monitor and stop election hacking.
Putin and I discussed forming an impenetrable cyber security unit so that election hacking and many other negative things will be guarded.
And President Trump summed up his visit to the G20 with a feel-good song, Make America Great Again, superimposed over a video of him meeting world leaders in Hamburg. But many of Mr Trump's own Republican colleagues have ridiculed the president's performance at the G20, especially the idea of a joint cybersecurity unit. Marco Rubio compares the idea to the US pursuing a partnership with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad on a chemical weapons unit. And Republican Senator Lindsey Graham blasted the idea on US television.
It's not the dumbest idea I've ever heard, but it's pretty close. He gave a really good speech in Poland, President Trump did, and he had what I think is a disastrous meeting with President Putin. 2 hours and 15 minutes of meetings. Tillerson and Trump are ready to forgive and forget when it comes to cyber attacks on the American election of 2016.
Senator Graham says President Trump's tweets suggest he has a blind spot when it comes to Vladimir Putin. And former CIA Director John Brennan questions whether Donald Trump told the Russian president what he should have about Russian meddling in the US election.
I don't think he demonstrates good negotiating skills when it comes to Mr. Putin. Again, 2 days before in Warsaw, he gives Mr. Putin the opportunity to point to the failures of US intelligence. To me, I think he ceded that ground.
Now, President Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., has released a statement confirming that he met a Russian lawyer in June last year who offered him potentially damaging information about his father's Democratic opponent Hillary Clinton. The lawyer had information that Russian individuals were funding the Democratic National Committee and supporting Ms. Clinton. Trump Jr. says he'd agreed to the meeting because the information could be helpful to his father's campaign. In his statement, he says the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner and his then campaign manager Paul J. Manafort were also at the meeting. And the statement could be seen to contradict President Trump's previous denials of any collusion between Russia and his campaign team. Trump Jr.'s meeting is likely to become a new focus of separate investigations now underway into the allegations of collusion, though his statement says his father had known nothing about the meeting and there was no further contact with the lawyer afterwards. And now President Trump's Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus, on US Fox television has sought to clarify the president's stance at the G20 summit.
The president absolutely did not believe the denial of President Putin. What the president did is he immediately came into the meeting, talked about Russian meddling in the U.S. election, went after that issue at least 2 separate times. This was not just a 5-minute piece of the conversation.
The Russian lawyer in question, Natalia Veselnitskaya, has told the New York Times she'd never acted on behalf of the Russian government and that the meeting with Donald Trump Jr. included no discussion of the presidential campaign.
Anne Barker reporting.